What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Game Time Discussions. I'm Emery Cuzzy. I'm sitting here with Dustin Zimmerman, and we are going to be doing, finally, we're going to be doing something Dustin really enjoys. We're going to be breaking down, first off, the ACC, one of the worst of the Power Four conferences, of course, but we're going to be talking about every team. We predicted every schedule, so we actually have wins and losses for every game. We're going to talk about who we think will make it to the conference championship. We won't get into the conference championship winners until later on when we get to top 25 stuff and the playoff stuff, but we're just going to be going over all these teams, kind of giving a background in some of their players, some of their coaches, some of their transfer portal stuff, strength of schedule, all those things that make this actually important and show what these guys are made of. There are, of course, some teams that we're going to start off with that we're going to go from last place in our rankings all the way up to first place in our rankings. So we're going to start off with some of the lower ranked teams, starting off 17th. 17th. There's 17 teams in the ACC now, which is ridiculous to me.
Who decided on an odd number of teams?
Yeah, exactly. And it's not the only conference. But Wake Forest, the Demon Deacons, are our last place team. They are 17th on here. They were 66th in the transfer portal, not very good, and out of 70. So 7 new starters on offense, though, including quarterback Robbie Ashford, Dustin's favorite player. The roster looks brand new, so we have a lot of things like that we just don't know, a lot of unknowns with this team, but truly they have one good player that is actually ready for like an NFL scouting type of thing, and that's Damon Claiborne. He had 1,049 yards last year, 11 touchdowns on the ground, and then 254 through the air. I thought he would have transferred, honestly. That's what I would have done. So that's where I'm at with them. 3-9 is my prediction. Tied for 16th. Not very good.
Yeah, I didn't expect to have the team with the strength of schedule in 79th for me to expect them to be so bad. But here we are with Wake Forest, who is just an absolute debacle of a program over there. They're just not doing anything. It's weird. It's like they know they're bad, and they're just like, oh, okay, that's fine for this year.
Yeah, I didn't get anything in the transfer portal. Well, they got a lot of things in the transfer portal. Let me rephrase that. Not anything that we were like excited about by any means.
Quantity over quality, to say the least.
Correct. Robbie Ashford, like I said, is Dustin's favorite player. That is definitely sarcastic, but he did have an 83.3% adjusted passer rating. He was at South Carolina prior to South Carolina. He was at Auburn and Oregon. So, is that right? Yeah, South Carolina, not USC.
Yeah, but he's only had meaningful plays at Auburn. That was the only time he's ever really done anything, and he didn't do anything spectacular.
Yeah, but I feel like we can go on. This is a pretty easy team to talk about.
Next is Stanford, who was fun last year. They had an interesting start to the year, had a fun opening game shootout with TCU, I believe. Mm-hmm. We saw Elick Iomaner, who's now in the NFL, Ashton Daniels, who was a great dual threat quarterback. And then the problem with that is neither of them are on the team anymore. And then they also lost James Bailey. So what are your thoughts there, Em? They can see where our rankings have them, and we're pretty consensus on this one.
Yeah, 35th strength of schedule, so not like Wake Forest, who has a much easier strength of schedule. Right. They're playing in the ACC, so but most of their big games are all their big games that they can actually win and away. Very few winnable home games, and that's their home games are Boston College, Florida State, and Cal. That they can win. Those are the winnable ones. All the other ones are bad. Like you said, they lost their best player on offense in Elick Iomaner and their best player on defense in James Bailey. They're just not looking very good right now. And then they also have a tough schedule. So all of the things put together, it's going to be a tough road. We have them both winning one game in the ACC. So I don't think that, and the ACC, like we said, is a dumpster fire itself. So that being said, makes it even worse. This is one of the worst teams in one of the worst conferences.
Yeah, and they'll have a redshirt freshman as their starting QB. So he only played in 3 games last year. 48 total passes. So
brand new wide receiver core. 5 out of 6 of their players are brand new. So it's not a recipe for any
success.
Winning. Any success, any winning. 3.5 win total, the lowest in the ACC. The Demon Deacons of Wake Forest had a 4.5. So even less than them. We actually took the under on both. So there you go.
And with a fair amount of confidence.
Yeah, exactly.
Well.
I completely agree. The next team is a team that we probably wouldn't expect normally to be down here. It's the NC State Wolfpack. They're going to be 15th. They have a 6.5 win total, so they're a little bit higher. But and their strength of schedule is actually still pretty tough. 42nd. Overall, that's not too bad if you're just like talking about SEC and Big Ten. But like in the ACC, that's a pretty tough schedule. CJ Bailey looking to improve off his true freshman season. He is their
Mhm.
quarterback. He had 2,413 yards, 17 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He was a true freshman though, so that's pretty solid. 77.5 adjusted completion percentage. But they lost Kevin Concepcion, their best receiver. Not really a team that will wow you, if that makes sense. It's just kind of an
Yeah.
average team with a rising star quarterback. I'm not very high on this team right now, and I want to see what they can do. But I think they're just like almost a year away, if that makes sense, because they have been good in the past, and I think they have good coaching. It's just like they have to probably wait a year before they are that team again.
Yeah, I agree. And their SP Plus ranking is 42nd. For anyone who doesn't know what the SP Plus is, it's a metric based on returning production, recent success, transfer portals. Basically, nerds got together, did a bunch of analytics, and spit out a computational score with some fair accuracy and predictability. And like I said, they're 42nd, so they are kind of a middle of the road team. It doesn't help that their schedule isn't very helpful. They played both Virginias, both of which have the talent to beat a lot of teams. They play Duke on the road. Georgia Tech looks better this year. Florida State probably won't be as bad as they were last year. They have to play Miami in Miami, and they play Pitt on the road too. So while they dodged Clemson, they have a unfavorable schedule when you break it down that way.
Yeah, most of the top tier teams in this conference they will have to run into basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then next, we got Syracuse, the Orange. I always love teams where they don't have an S at the end, and we have two in a row on the mascot.
Mm-hmm,
Uh,
mm-hmm.
Very rare, and we've got two right here. But Syracuse win totals predicted is only 5.5. They're coming off 10-3 season last year under a new head coach. Brought in a lot of transfer guys last year. This year, though, not so much, which I found really interesting. That their transfer rank was 68th when last year
Mm-hmm.
they did really well on the transfer portal. And it's not like they didn't have success. They went 10-3 with Kyle McCord. And then this year they're going to have Ricky Collins, who was the backup at LSU last year. Good dual threat guy. So going to be different from Kyle McCord. Their biggest issue, in my opinion, is their schedule this year. They just have a brutal schedule.
Yeah, it's
They're
tough.
17th overall in the country, and all the top teams they play them.
Yeah, they play Clemson, Duke, SMU, Pitt, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Miami, Notre Dame, and Boston College. All of those
Yep.
teams are like more than all those teams are going to be like 6.5, 7.5, or
Yeah.
better win totals. Like this is
Yeah.
not really the place. They're losing all their good players, like you said. T. Rapena, Orlando Gatskin's going to the NFL. Weeks is, I think. Actually, now I'm not gonna say that one. Actually, let's put that one back in the pocket because I'm not sure off the top of my head. But I know that obviously starting quarterback last year is gone, like you said. So now it's Ricky Collins or hey, hold on, Steve Angeli's there. Give me Steve Angeli,
Yeah.
the backup
I mean,
for Riley Leonard last year.
it makes sense as far as if they're going to try to stay with a gunslinger. And Jelly can throw the ball. We saw him in limited time when Leonard
Yeah,
got hurt last year, and he can toss it. Collins just gives that dual threat.
right.
So I mean, now that you pointed out, I am interested to see which direction they're going to go with it.
Well, and I named all those teams that they're playing. They're also going to start at a neutral site against Tennessee in week 1.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help. So they might
No.
have multiple quarterbacks play this year. That would not surprise me in any way.
Yeah.
If we saw both quarterbacks come in because they're just like they're gonna have a difficult time getting out of the gates if they have to play Tennessee week 1 and then dealing with all these big time ACC schools. If you're gonna talk about the ACC, this is the bulk of it is who they're playing. They lost
Yeah.
all their players. It's just it feels like almost a weirdly rebuild year. Like, and you don't even think like they should have to rebuild, but like they had a 2024 top 10 offense, and then they
Yeah.
lost all their offensive. LaQuint Allen, their running back, is gone too.
Yeah.
Like they lost all their offensive production. So we'll see
Yeah.
what happens with them. But I know that it's not going to be nearly as successful as last year with all these teams they're going to be playing.
Nope, not
So
looking for it. Last year I expected upsets from them. This year I expect blowouts, unfortunately.
yeah, agreed. Next up is going to be Boston College. Boston College is 13th on here. They have a more reasonable schedule, 47th, not playing like the last two, 17th and up. Um, Transfer portal, they were 53rd, so whatever. Returning their top two receivers, though, they do have one of the best offensive linemen in the conference, and offensive lines in the conference. Grayson James should make this team better than Castellanos, hopefully.
Yeah.
That's what I would expect. Started week 5, and after week 11, basically, he went 4-2. Beat Syracuse, that team we just talked about that has lost their best players. North Carolina, Pitt, and Western Kentucky. So I thought those were good games. And then the games they lost were against good teams too, SMU and Nebraska. So Grayson James, older, comes in, possibly could help this team out. But they didn't add much on defense. I always think it's interesting when I look and I see Bill O'Brien as a head coach, or like one of these older, old NFL coaches that kind of fell out. But yes, Bill O'Brien is their head coach, so hopefully he can push them to a winning season.
Yeah, every time I see Bill O'Brien, I hold my breath because I'm a Texans fan, and Bill O'Brien with the Texans was horrible, to put it in a word. But Bill O'Brien as a coordinator and a head coach in college has mostly been successful, if you look at his full resume, which is just very confusing. But I guess he's just one of those guys. He connects well with college guys and not so well with the NFL.
It's a different
but they
game.
also have a tough schedule. Oh, very. And even the relationships inside of it.
For sure.
But I mean, a tough schedule. They're going to play Pitt again, who you mentioned, then Clemson, Louisville, SMU, to name the conference ones, and then they're also going to have to play Notre Dame.
Don't forget about Georgia Tech.
And well, we're getting to them later, but yes, Georgia Tech's on the list, and I personally am very high on Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech is playing BC though. They're the one you left off. But
yeah.
So it's a tough schedule. Yeah, no, they get the bulk. They didn't get Miami, but that's like the only top tier. Duke and Miami are the only top tier teams they didn't have to play this year. So it's definitely not a pretty schedule by any means.
No.
Going to the next.
Yeah, Louisville. So in Louisville, it's losing Tyler Shuck to the NFL, and he had a fun 1 year there. And now they have Miller Moss, who's coming from USC. Their win total right now is at 8.5, which I think is a little bit high, and according to your ratings or rankings, right under that.
Yeah.
36 strength of schedule. Transfer portal 50th, kind of middle of the road, lower end. Colin Lacey is still there as a wide receiver. Him and Miller Moss is probably going to be a pretty fun combo. And then they brought in Isaac Brown, or they have Isaac Brown as a running back there as well. They're complete, like you had mentioned when we were talking about it. Their SP Plus rank is 24th, so they actually have quite a bit of incoming production. Their big issue is, again, the schedule, which is weird to say in the ACC.
Yeah, they do. They have the gauntlet in the ACC. They play Pitt, they play Virginia, they play Miami, BC, Virginia Tech, Cal, Clemson, and SMU. All teams at the top half of that we haven't even talked about yet, right? Like we're at 12th.
Right.
We haven't talked about any of those teams. That means they're all in the next few slides, telling you that they're a little bit better. I think they underperform because of this, just on numbers, but they do have possibly the most athletic, like skill player in the conference in Isaac Brown. Dude's a freak. Added Miller Moss, like you said. They also added a guy that I really like in Clev Lubin, one of the best non-Power 5 players transferring up. So I think that's exciting. But, they're going to start 3-0. And then from there, will tell us everything about, like, if this team, like, they could catch momentum from that and then roll with it. 8-4 felt right. But at the same time, we don't really think Miller Moss in this room is like the most amazing thing. We need to see him produce and do things like that. So hopefully he can do that. Hopefully Louisville can, win. If they win 8-4, tied for 7th, that's still 4-4 in the conference. It's still a good year for them. It's going to be a bowl game either way. So I don't hate Louisville. I just don't have them in the top tier of the other teams, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next team we're going to talk about is the Cal Golden Bears. They were 11th on our list. Probably the biggest thing about them is just the biggest talking point is they lose a lot of their production. They lose their quarterback. They lose their number one running back. They lose their receiver, and then they also lose their tight end who had the most receptions, yards, and touchdowns for them last year. 8 new players on offense from a 60th ranked transfer portal. Like it's just a little scary. Yeah. But they do have the quarterback situation I like, and when I say that, it's like, who's going to start? Is it going to be JKS or is it going to be ex 5-star Devin Brown from Ohio State who wore 33 in the weird number thing?
Yeah.
But at least I think this team has some question marks surrounding them, and that's why I'm lower on them. As you can tell, I'm 5-7. You have them 8-4. I'd love to hear why you have them 8-4.
It's mainly due to the potential for a really good quarterback to come in and be able to lead a team, and they're being underrated heavily,
Sure.
along with the travel situation. So we saw last year their inability to close games they should have, such as with Miami. They were up by 20, 30 points or whatever in the third quarter and blew it. And they had a ton of losses that were like that, single scores. They probably should have won. They don't have Jaden Ott this year, but to that point, Jaden Ott wasn't that productive, and we've talked about that in the past, that we both think he underperformed.
Yeah, he was a little injured, but yeah, he definitely underperformed.
Mendoza going to Indiana, I don't know that they're necessarily downgrading at QB either, considering, again, JKS or the 5-star Devin Brown. And then that's just yet to be seen. And then when you bring in so many new guys on offense, like you said, it'll just depend on how they mesh. Mine is more of like we talked about with the NFL draft, projecting them to go much higher than they probably should. But I think there's a real chance they could. Now, on the flip side of that, if either of these quarterbacks doesn't work out, gets injured, whatever, then we could see a really, really, really bad season at that point.
Yeah, absolutely fair. Oh, it started to rain. Oh, y'all can't hear that through this, but it is pouring outside. Here, I don't know. We don't live that far apart.
That's crazy. I'm only 10 minutes down the road, so we'll see.
It's raining pretty good right now. But yeah, no, Cal has a lot of question marks, and for your benefit, if they do well and they meet those like top expectations, they could go 8-4. I just see them more as a 6-6, 5-7 team than the 8-4 overall. So, but I'm not against Cal in any way. Going over to the next one, I'm a team I'm absolutely against all day long. My gosh, sometimes I can't take it. But the Florida State Seminoles,
absolutely against, huh? Is that how you want to describe your favorite team? That's
favorite team. Saying. Oh no! Until they fire Mike Norvell, we're not on talking terms right now, because we're 6-6, 4-4. You know, we look at us. We predicted it the same way. Both 6-6, 4-4. There's a lot of things to dislike. Basically, is how I'm going to get at it. Like we have a 24th strength of schedule. Not good. That's tough. It's going to be tough. 34th transfer portal, though. Like to see that. We did a little bit better there. I don't think we can get worse. We were 2-10 last year, but I don't like that Thomas Castellanos, the BC quarterback, was talking about how he's not scared of Alabama and all this stuff. It's just one of those things. We added 7 new starters on offense, 4 on the O-line, which I like to see. I like getting big guys in there. We did lose both of our best pass rushers in Patrick Payton and Marvin Jones Jr. And I just don't know what to do with Mike Norvell. That is the biggest problem for me. We don't know what we're going to do with quarterback. I'm glad we got some new players on the offensive line and stuff, but there are a lot of question marks for this team. 6-6 on a 6.5 win total. I feel fine, betting the under, and that's so sad to say about your own team.
Yeah. I've definitely been there in the latter of the Jimbo Fisher era and Dennis Franchione with A&M, so I get it. But like you said, they can't get worse, and I don't see any way that they do. And that's mostly not saying they're good this year. They just were really bad last year. I do think last year was a lot of momentum too, though. They started off poorly, really got their expectations crushed right from the start, and DJU with his obvious struggles. The whole team, I think it just brought them all down. I would call it more of a fluke than anything. Now that said, I don't think they're going to flip the script and go 10-2 this year. But I agree with the 6-6. They should probably be better than that, just off of a metrics and roster standpoint.
Yeah, talent wise, sure.
Yeah, but I got to see Norvell bring it back together.
I completely agree. If he doesn't, we will have to probably get rid of him. That would be the best option for us, I feel like.
His seat has to be the hottest. If you cleared house and then kept him after no improvements.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, we moved up to the Virginia one. My bad. Go ahead. I'll let you go.
I'm also
I hit it early.
Well, I'm just changing it. There we go. Yeah, Cavaliers. So we have them in our ninth spot. Their projected win total is 6.5. We actually have them with the same conference record. It looks like we have one non-conference game differently. But so approximately same area though when we're talking about where we think they're going to be in the ACC. They added Chandler Morris. If you don't know who that is, he was the North Texas gunslinger. Guy will throw for 1,000 yards or thousands of yards.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much all they did at North Texas was gave him the ball and let him throw as hard as he could, and it worked out for him. So their schedule is not too bad. Their strength of schedule for the whole season is 84th. Their transfer portal rank was 26th, so they did bring in some good players. Interestingly, their SP plus, the metric for returning production and total production, is 79th, but their schedule is just not that hard. So they
Mm-hmm.
don't really struggle. They're not playing Clemson, Miami, or SMU this year. So they're a huge, or very much benefiting from the lack of the harder teams, the top tier of the ACC.
Right. And I think with, with this Virginia team, like they've got, unfortunately it's funny because like I'm much lower on their talent than I was like even last year, say. But
Sure.
like being 84th strength of schedule, like they have a path to 8 wins, and it's not like it's right there in front of them.
Yeah.
The problem is if they do underperform, and like you said, Chandler Morris is a guy that we want to bet on a little bit. He's a fun guy to
Yeah.
watch. But if they do underperform, it wouldn't surprise me if they go, I don't know, they could get 5 wins this year, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. Like they have a
Sure.
serious floor, but I think if you're just going to take an average, we're about right. You're probably closer to average. I probably gave them an extra win that they might not have deserved because I said like they're not the best team. Their
Sure.
transfer portal the people they brought in the transfer portal is really nice, but I have reservations on this team overall as a team. But at the same time, when you get this opportunity to not have to play any of the good teams, if you just look at their schedule, I'm gonna actually go through it real quick with everybody. Coastal
Go for it.
Carolina, NC State, William and Mary, Stanford, Florida State. Not a single team yet so far. Louisville before their bye that is in the top half of our ACC rankings. Then
Yep.
they play Washington State and out of conference. Then we finally see a team that's above them in North Carolina. Then they play Cal, Wake Forest. Then they play Duke, and then Tech. They miss out on all the teams that we're going to talk about, like SMU, Clemson, Georgia Tech, Miami, like all those teams that are like at the top, they won't have to see. So they have a very favorable schedule. They could end up with 9 wins. Wouldn't blow my mind in any way. So that's just something that we're going to have to see. I know that there's a team that we're going to talk about, but I actually have them beating Virginia Tech at the end of the year. And if they beat Virginia Tech, I think that tells you that they could win 9 games.
Yep.
So, and
Well,
then I'm trying to click it. I promise it's not working. No, I can see it now. Okay. Next up, got North Carolina. I know. I couldn't figure out. I couldn't get the thing to change. We got North Carolina and Bill Belichick getting that transfer portal going. Man, 8th overall transfer
yeah.
portal. 7 new possible starters on defense. 4 possible starters on offense. Gio Lopez out of South Alabama, the quarterback. He's a dual threat guy. 2,500 yards passing, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and then 463 yards on the ground and 7 touchdowns. One of the more friendly ACC schedules. As you can see, they're 71st. There is no reason that this team should not succeed. I have them going 8-4, and I'm probably too low. Like, let's just be honest. And this 7.5 win total right now that I'm looking at, I just think this is one of the easier over bets because I was low on them and I'm still
Yep.
over that number. I just
Yep.
think they have too much talent based on all the players they brought in and also having the schedule that they do. So I would expect them, mostly bottom ACC foes. They should start 4-0 before they play Clemson.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think they do start 4-0 and then probably drop, or not probably, I think they drop it to
Yeah.
Clemson. And then they do have to travel right after that to California. So that's kind of, and then they have Virginia at home. I think that 3-game stretch is going to be really big for them in terms of setting the tone for the season outside of the, starting 4 of see where they're at, but most of those
Right.
games are winnable. But that will really tell, are they going to get absolutely mollywopped by Clemson, or are they going to step up? Bill Belichick's going to do Bill Belichick things and pull off an upset, and then traveling to California, staying in that mindset. Don't let it be a trap game. And
Right.
then you've got Virginia after that at home, who we were just talking about could be a dangerous team.
I
Um,
do
but
think though.
total,
I was gonna
it's
say
not
though, I
hard.
do think that Cal game, because
Yeah,
it's coming off of a bye, you
yeah.
kind of can get those kids there early, maybe a couple days early, and get used like get early because
Hey,
I
the kids
know
still
that
have class, Emery.
it's
Aren't just
but
football
they don't
players.
care. They do not care in
But
college
there are
football.
travel rules and stuff. I assume they have to follow.
Sure, sure.
I
I
assume.
don't know
Right?
them. I don't know them. Unfortunately, I will say that
Well,
the only game in those front four that they have a chance of losing is TCU.
yeah, the one
Because I
they're
think
opening against.
yeah, TCU is one of those hard is a very hard team to predict this year. So
Yeah,
some people might have them higher, but they have a favorable schedule, and I think traveling. I think you can probably travel a day earlier than you normally do. I'll just put it out
I
there.
don't know. It's Belichick. They'll find a way.
Yeah, he'll just like no, we're doing it. Get over it.
Next up is the Panthers, though, who we talked about in the latter half of last year because for the first half, we both kind of just slept on it. And then, unfortunately, by the time we started talking about them, is when they went downhill. Last year, starting 7-0, then losing six straight. This year, we have them ranked seventh overall in the ACC. Same conference record. I think I have them losing one more non conference than you do. Their strength of schedule is 53rd, though. They're going to have Eli Holstein come back, who was
Hmm.
in 7-2 as a starter last year. They have Desmond Reed, who I know you're very high on, so I'll let you talk about them a little bit more, along with the linebacker cores. And again, you love talking about your defense. Hardest part for them is their schedule is less than favorable.
Well, it's less than favorable, but more so than that, it's the end of the year that
Yeah.
really hurts them. They play Notre Dame last 3 weeks. They play Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, Miami. Like
Yep.
that's just really tough group to get through.
Yeah.
I believe you had them losing to Stanford also right before that. So you had them losing four straight games after just like last year, basically. You had them
Basically,
winning
yeah, I
seven
recreated last
games.
year.
You had them going 7-1, and then you had them losing
No,
four
I have
straight
them beating
games.
Stanford, but I
Oh,
do
is it
have them losing their last three to Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and Miami.
okay? Well, I thought you had them losing Stanford. I was like, wow,
No, no.
you're pushing it. You're
That'd be
pushing that
really
agenda
mean.
that they had last year.
No,
Um,
I didn't want to go that. It's Stanford. Maybe if
yeah,
it was anybody higher than Wake and Stanford.
fair, fair. Eli Holstein is back, 7-2 as a starter. He was the guy that was getting them to go. Desmond Reed is one of the top running backs in the nation. He is a scat type back, but in the NCAA, give the ball to your athletes is that's the type of thing you do here. He won't necessarily be the most productive NFL player. He'll probably be a 1B receiving type of back, but in college he can do it all. And his explosiveness really makes him exciting to watch. Like he's one of the reasons you turn a pick game on.
Yep.
One of the best linebacker cores in the nation. So that's it with Kyle Lewis and Rasheem Biles. Both guys are juniors. They're going to be NFL draft guys that we'll talk about. And then, like you said, just a pretty tough schedule. I just don't, I mean, ending the year with Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and Miami sucks. They also have to play BC, Florida State, and Louisville. So, I mean, it's not the worst schedule. Still 53rd, probably middle ground, but it's going to keep them from being undefeated and being a 3-2-2-3 loss team and fighting for a conference championship, in my opinion.
Yep.
Now, I'm I'm gonna ask you. I'll go. But this is
Sure.
your team. We'll just be honest about it. I don't know.
Well, not my
I mean,
team. One player. It all
one
rides on the
okay.
back of one player.
Okay, so this is the Virginia Tech Hokies. They're going to be sixth on our list. It's not because of me. I have them at 6-6, 4-4 in the conference. I had them tied for seventh. Dustin actually has them tied for first. We do not have Dustin does not have a single undefeated team in this conference. Best is 7-1. Now, I'm going to let Dustin tell you a little bit about his guy. They did bring in a couple of guys that I really like, but I'm going to let you go ahead and tell us about Kyron Drones.
Kyron Jones basically has the makeup to be like a Jaden Daniels if he can figure out how to throw the ball better. His
Okay.
accuracy was not good, but he's like stupidly athletic. And a couple of the games last year that they lost, like the Miami one, first of all, the Miami one they won, and I will still die on that hill.
That's fair.
That
I agree
he
with you.
caught it and was inbounds, all that stuff. But their strength of schedule is 52nd. They have a transfer portal rank of 24th. Like you said, you're going to talk about some of the guys they brought in. And then their schedule. So they start the year hard with two SEC opponents, actually, and South Carolina and then Vanderbilt. I don't really know how they pulled that off as their schedule, but that's just how it went. But then after that, as far as the ACC teams, they play NC State, Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, Cal, Louisville, FSU, and then Miami and Virginia. So they dodge Clemson and SMU. They play Miami at home this year, and I'm much lower on Miami than probably other people. And then they just have a very favorable schedule. I do think they lose to Georgia Tech, which we'll talk about them in a little bit. But if Kyron Jones can put it together and figure out how to throw, then they can get the offense going. And then, like you said, the defense should improve.
Well, I'm going to fight back because it's really hard to improve that much, if you know what I mean. 3 games is a lot of difference between us. So it's really hard to improve that much if you're asking me on Kyron Jones. If they are going to win games, I think it comes on the back of course, Kyron Jones, but other guys like Ben Bell, who is transferring from Texas State. He's an edge for Virginia Tech now. And then Terrion Stewart, who is going to be replacing Bashal Tootin. Terrion Stewart from Bowling Green is a really, really fun guy to watch. If you haven't seen his highlights, you absolutely should. He's a stud player, but he can't do it by these 3 guys can't do it by themselves. It's kind of how I'm getting at it. Of course, it's the 24th transfer portal rank, but they lost all top 4 of their pass catchers. 1 graduated, 3 went to the pros. Jalen Lane, Daquan Felton, and Stefan Gosnell all went to the pros. It's going to be hard to reproduce all of that. And still also they have to improve because they weren't necessarily a winning team last season, if that makes sense. They were still 6-7 with all those guys on the team. So I'm just, I'm sorry?
Should have been 7-6.
Sure. I agree with you. I watched that game. It was ridiculous, but it's still not going to be good enough to get them to 9-3 in my personal opinion.
Sure.
Next up, we're going to be talking about a team that is it's a very fun team in the Duke Blue Devils. They get one of the transfers. It is going to be Darian Mensah. He's going to be replacing Malik Murphy. He was the transfer out of Tulane, the quarterback there. They have one of the most experienced offensive lines in the ACC. All of their players are going to be senior aged. One of the best secondaries in the ACC. We've talked about a couple guys from their secondary in Chandler Rivers and Terry Moore. Both guys are awesome. They added Caleb Weaver out of Sam Houston State. I mean, they have guys. There are guys on this team. I'm really excited about this team. I actually wish I would have put them higher, but I have them 6-2 in the conference. You have them 5-3. It's the non-conference games that I was harder on them on, but at the same time, like this team is good enough to make a 7-1 conference championship push, in my personal opinion. Very fun team to watch. They do have to play Illinois in non-conference. That was one of their losses that I gave them. They play Clemson this year, and then I gave them a UConn loss and a North Carolina loss, but very, very winnable games to flip, if you ask me, other than the Clemson game.
Wait, you have them losing to UConn?
I do.
Why?
One of the teams that I have them losing to. I feel like there's going to be games where they lose, and that's one of them that I have them not making it. What is UConn's SP plus? What do you have 84th. For them? Oh, it's gonna be great. That'll be the game they lose. 9-3. If they're 9-3 and 6-2, I'm still better.
Congratulations. If you call that, congratulations on the clip, because nobody else is going to say that if we're not talking basketball. So fair. That is incredible. I was agreeing with you. I was nodding my head. Everything all good. I love Darian Mensah. Like we've already talked about, their secondary is going to be really
great
fun.
Secondary.
And then we're going to talk about a UConn loss. I feel like that's worse than everything I said about Kyron Jones.
No way.
The specific. All right.
I'm pushing.
I could definitely see it though. They could fall apart. It's very possible being Duke. I don't think so. I
do
do
as
think
well.
they're going to do pretty well this year, depending on how they do with their seniority of guys like their secondary and Darian Mensah could carry them a far way. And it's fun seeing them having improved and being a stable improvement since Malik Murphy went there. And really, the transfer portal, this is one of those teams that's really been benefited from the portal and creating that parity.
Sure. Yeah. Um, Duke is one of my favorite teams, and I do have them losing
Yep.
that game right now. But I think they played in a lot of close games last year. They were 6-1
Yeah.
last year.
Yep.
It could fall a different way this year.
Yeah.
And so I just want to see them really do it. That's why they have 4 losses for me. But
Yep.
really, it's North Carolina and Clemson. Those are the 2 losses in the ACC. North Carolina is a game that they are definitely capable of winning. Illinois is a game I think they're capable of winning, and obviously UConn's a game that I think they're capable of winning. So all 3 of those games could be switched, and you could
Yeah.
get an 11-win Duke team. There's a
Yep.
couple games they could lose too, though. So
Right.
just putting that out there. But yeah, I like this team a lot.
Yep.
So, and
And
then the
then
team you
next
hate, the team
is
you
the
absolutely,
U.
honestly, the worst team in football that should be relegated to D2 based on Dustin's projections.
So it's not that I hate the team, it's that I hate a lot of the parts of the team. Like
Okay.
Mario Cristobal is not a good coach. Who in their right mind loses a game when they're up with 20 seconds left and the other team doesn't have any timeouts? Mario Cristobal, because he wants to run it instead, because he doesn't believe in kneeling out the clock. I truly believe last year he was absolutely carried by Cam Ward, and that's the only way they made all those comebacks. Because last year, had they not made stupid wins like Virginia Tech, California, shoot, they were even losing to Duke at one point, and then Cam Ward decided he wanted to be
Losing by
Superman
2
again.
touchdowns to Duke
Um,
for my super dog.
this was a team last year that potentially could have gone 7-5 if other teams hadn't just decided, you know what, never mind, let them just win. That's essentially what happened.
Sure.
And I don't think you get an upgrade with Carson Beck being replaced by Cam Ward. Replacing Cam Ward with Carson Beck.
Mm-hmm.
Their secondary is basically brand new. They lost a ton of talent on the offensive side, like Damian Martinez and Restrepo, and then they still have to play teams like Notre Dame and Florida. So I don't know. I'm not. It was they were probably the hardest for me to predict, honestly, just because last year I didn't get they were dominant vibes and they're bringing back these guys. It was they squeaked out wins and they're still not bringing back guys
Yeah,
that they had
that's
from
fair.
last year.
I think for me, it's like that. Yes, they're losing a lot of things. They're losing a lot of these guys on offense: Elijah Arroyo, Damian Martinez, Strepo, Sam Brown. All those guys are gone. But can't. And I think Carson Beck gets a lot of flack, like that. I don't necessarily think he deserves. He's not Cam Ward.
No,
I'm not going to compare him to Cam Ward,
sure,
but
sure.
he's at least good enough to. Yeah, he's still a top 15 quarterback in the nation on a starting team, no
Sure.
problem.
Yeah.
Like that's not even a question to me. You could say he's top 10, no problem.
No.
But and I wouldn't fight you on it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my thing is like you're still getting a good quarterback. You still have a very experienced offensive line. You have one of the best pass rushers in the nation in Reuben Bain Jr. You have a really, really talented secondary that added 5 new possible starters. Like you don't even know who's going to start, but they're all going to be new guys. Of course, that's not going to gel. But Miami's biggest situation is like they don't really have these hard games. They have SMU, and then like you just look through their schedule, and yes, they have some like obviously upper echelon teams, Virginia
Yeah.
Tech, Pitt, but I don't really see any teams that I'm like, hey, like they can't win 9 games.
Yeah.
Notre Dame is going to beat them probably, sure. Florida might beat them, so that's 1.5. But after that, it's like really hard to find 5 losses to me, and I think you gave them every possible loss that you could
Yes.
find. So if you just meet in the middle and you
Yep.
say they're 9-3, I think that's more reasonable. I just think 7-5 is a stretch because I just think they win at least 1 or 2 of those close games. I actually think they're good. I think that they're going to do well this year. They have talent, so I'm not really worried about them in that way. So if they can replace these offensive guys, I think that they can win 10 games. I have them winning 10 games. They're at 9.5 win total. I think that's kind of going to be consensus of like 9-3, and I actually
Sure.
have them going over. So I'm a little bit higher on them even. But
Sure.
I think this team is better than you're giving them credit for, giving them every loss they could possibly have, basically.
So before Mario Cristobal, the 2 years there, Miami went 8-3 and 7-5. And then so middle of the road, whatever. Mario
Sure.
Cristobal gets there and they go 5-7 and 7-6 the next 2 years. And then Cam Ward gets there and they go 10-3.
But they also
So
have the 5th overall transfer grade. So they did bring in the reason
yeah,
Mario Cristobal has a job is because he brings in guys like Carson Beck and Cam Ward and these offensive, he's good at recruiting. That's why that he can do it.
okay. And Jimbo got the greatest class of all time to A&M, and 90% of them aren't at A&M, or half don't even play football anymore because
Very
they
different
well,
world.
burnout.
Very different world. We are the world of transfer portals, not the we know that these guys are good. The guys
Yeah.
that came to A&M that flailed out, they were high
Yeah.
schoolers before that. These are guys
Yeah.
that we know have played football. Carson Beck was considered the number one like quarterback in his
Yeah.
last season in the summer. Now,
Okay.
obviously, was that warranted? No, but it's not
Sure.
that.
Sure.
That was just a down quarterback class, and we didn't know
Yeah.
who the hell was going to be good, right?
Sure.
So it's just one of those things where I think that the reason Mario Cristobal obviously has a job is because of his recruiting, not because of his coaching. There's other
Sure.
guys in the NCAA that are the same exact way. Believe me, Norvell. And
Yeah.
we'll just because he took all the Georgia guys same way. He
Yeah.
did. Jared Verse was came in from Georgia from Florida State. Like some guys are just recruiters and not coaches, not football coaches, right?
Right.
That is my biggest takeaway because the team he put together is good enough to win 10 games. The
Sure.
team he put together with his offensive coordinator and his defensive coordinator's minds are better than 7-5 in my opinion. That's all.
Sure. That's
Next
fair.
up, Georgia Tech. Do I get to go or do you want to go? I can let you go. We both have them really high, but you
I
have
mean,
them at 10-2.
we're pretty much tied on them or a game off.
All right,
You can take it. Go ahead.
cool.
Go ahead.
63rd transfer portal rank doesn't matter. 33rd strength of schedule doesn't matter. Let's just talk about this real quick. The best 1-2 punch in the backfield for rushing offense in the country. Haynes King and Jamal Haynes. Jamal Haynes is our dark horse for this year. He's the running back for Georgia Tech. He will make you miss with it. He is the phone booth guy this year. He can make you
Yep.
miss in a phone booth. This is him. One of the best rushing duos though in football. Schedule is one of the toughest in the ACC. One of the easiest in the ACC. I apologize. Only one team betting line is over 6.5. So every team they're playing has a betting line of 6.5 or less.
Yep.
They missed out on playing Miami, Louisville, SMU, North Carolina, Florida State, and Virginia. They only play Clemson. Away games are bottom half teams because that's important, right? Wake Forest, Duke, North Carolina State, and BC. Those are bottom half. Everybody but Duke is a bottom half team
Yep.
for their away games, and they only play one of the big three, and that's Clemson.
Yep.
Georgia Tech is very talented, and we are overlooking them. They are one of the best offenses in football. They hold the ball. They take care of the clock. They do all the things right. This is my kind of football right here. Play good defense, have clock management, run the ball, win the game.
Yep. I mean, I was on it last year on Haynes King, and he continued to impress and win me super dog picks. So I will die on the hill of Haynes King being able to lead that team and solely off of vibes. And he did it last year. He's going to do it again. I think the only game we have different for him is Clemson. I have him pulling off the upset
Against
and you
Clemson,
have
yeah, I
him.
think you did.
But,
Who's the other loss? I can't remember off the top of my head.
that I have Georgia.
That we
They end the game
both.
with Georgia. Or the season,
Oh,
sorry. They end the season with Georgia, and we both have them losing to Georgia.
there's another loss though because they have 3 losses for me. Who was the other ACC loss? Georgia.
For you?
Both.
You
That's
have them.
Duke. I have them losing to Duke.
Duke.
I have them
So do
losing
I.
to Duke. Okay, so yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
We have the
we
same
both have them
exact.
losing to Duke, but I have them beating Clemson. That's the only difference.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I will say they are losing Eric Singleton Jr., and I'm
Yeah.
glad he's leaving. Not in the way that I dislike the player. I just think it's a better situation at Auburn for him
I like
because
the
this
player.
team is not built to help him get drafted and stuff like
Yeah.
that. He had to do the best thing for himself, basically. But I did think that, we said that they're really low in the transfer portal, 63rd. It's because they're returning a ton of players that are good at
Yeah.
football. And on defense, they returned like 9 of their starters, and they brought in 2 players to fix those holes. So they are primed and ready, in my personal opinion, and I really like this team. They're third for us They're second for you, I believe, overall. So just a fun team to talk about. Haynes King and Jamal Haynes are going to be one of the best 1-2 punches in football.
Yeah, I essentially have them tied with Clemson. That's the only reason.
Gotcha. Well,
Yep.
here you go. This is yours now.
Oh
I took that
yeah,
one.
the SMU Mustangs. Was very happy to see that your prediction was also high on them. Yeah, basically we're both very
Disrespected.
very high on SMU. Um, their transfer portal rank was 19th, which I never thought I would see. You know, if you told me 3 years ago SMU would be a top 25 transfer school, I'd be like, yeah, no way. You're funny. But they actually brought in quite a bit of talent. They have Kevin Jennings coming back, who kind of shocked everyone when he took over for Preston Stone and elevated the team rather than
Mm-hmm.
people assuming Preston Stone would get put back in at some point, except for how he ended the season, of course. They move the ball around a lot. Kevin Jennings is dual threat. Their issue this year is they are playing both Clemson and Miami. They're going to play at Clemson and then home to Miami. And then we saw at the end of the year, they almost made the playoff, but of course choked it away at the last second.
Well, they made the playoff.
Oh, wait, no, sorry. They choked in the playoff. Sorry.
Yes. The only teams that I had them losing to was Baylor. That wasn't Clemson.
Yep.
But I just wanted to put this out there. They are being absolutely disrespected at 8.5 wins. I don't know why. They like this team is returning a lot of really good players. Their secondary, both of their safeties are top draft eligible safeties, top 10 guys. They were 26th last year on defense, 27th on offense, 9th for points per game at 36.5. Like, this is a high-powered offense with a lot of players coming back. I think they're being disrespected. I don't understand the 8.5. And it's more so that, like, I think people just think they're going to come back to average, like they're going to come back to norm.
Regress to
but
the mean.
Yeah, sure. Why not? But maybe I don't think that this team, and you just said that you thought that you would never heard them being a 19th overall transfer portal team. Actually, when you think about where they are, University Park in Dallas, that is a very high class area with a lot of boosters and a lot of money. I could have seen this. Yeah, could have seen this happening. There's a couple Texas schools like Texas Tech and SMU. Like, I'm like, there's a ton of money in that area. And that's why I think they're up here, talking about, 19th overall transfer portal grade. So I think that they have a lot of good things going for them. They also have the talent. I hate the 8.5. I get the regression to the mean, but this is a team that I would bet the number right now. And Georgia Tech. Let's just be honest. Let's put them in there too. Both those teams, I would bet their overs on their win totals.
Yeah. When I was mentioning the transfer stuff, I was more referencing being essentially banned from football for their 1980s transfer portal before the transfer portal and recruiting before the NIL deals were a thing.
Yep. Let's go to the last team, and everybody should know who it is. I think at this point, it is the Clemson Tigers. First overall, they have a 9.5 win total. Clemson is built to win right now, guys. I know that Dustin put 10 and 2. I don't know what teams you had them losing to.
Georgia Tech is one of them because they play at 11 a.m. in Georgia Tech. And then I have them losing to South Carolina to end the year.
Okay. And I don't remember who I had them losing to because I thought I had.
You have them losing
maybe it's South Carolina. Oh, I have them losing to Louisville. That's one of my crazy, like, they're going to lose a game in the middle of the year to a nobody.
Wow, you really, with the ACC in middle of the year, interesting losses.
That's what happens, though. That's how football works, man.
In this.
And, Louisville's got some athletes. They're just going to run into some athletes. But I have them 11 and 1. I still have a better record prediction than Dustin overall. And only loss was to Louisville. 40th strength of schedule, reasonable. 37th transfer portal. We'll talk about the Dabo thing. Dabo is the believer in you get guys in and you teach them from freshman to senior year. You get good players in, you keep them rather than going out and get new players. We'll see if that works. This is a new thing in football with the transfer portal. So obviously it's worked for him so far. He's going to return one of the best offenses in football with 3 legitimate wide receivers, Antonio Williams, Bryant Westco, TJ Moore. And then Cade Klubnik is coming back, the quarterback. They have a top 5 defensive line. They have a top 5 cornerback in the draft. TJ Parker and Peter Woods are probably the best players on this whole team. Like if
Yeah.
you're just going to talk about it, they are top 10 draft eligible players. This team is ready to be a top 4 seed. Like I don't see a world where they don't make the playoffs. Like, and I know that that's like a crazy push, but like, as long as they don't have serious injuries, they are the best one. They're the best team in the ACC by far, talent wise, top to bottom. They have
No.
an SEC roster playing in the ACC right now, and that's why they're going to be a top 4 team to me. They're going to, push to be deep runs into the playoffs, and I think they will win their conference championship also.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Like teams that I have up there, like Virginia Tech, I'm pushing up very high based on winning games that they probably shouldn't,
Right.
and off the back of a huge increase from guys. This team like Clemson, I expect them to win the ACC overall.
Sure.
I know I have them getting upset a time or two, like with Georgia Tech, but overall, I think they end up winning when it comes down to a championship game and going to the playoffs.
It's just a talent thing. They're just
Yeah,
so much more talented than
yeah.
everybody else.
They're
And
a
that's
team
the problem.
I don't see losing to a team they've already beat and or losing twice to a team.
Right. That's absolutely
Dabo
fair.
just makes too many improvements, and I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, and they're gonna blow out teams, and everybody
Yeah,
on their team is gonna get reps. Like their backups are gonna be getting reps. Our dark horse for our offensive tackle, Blake Miller. He plays right
yeah,
tackle for them. He's our
yeah,
dark horse. Top notch athleticism, has a lot of
yeah,
things to work on, but like they just have talent
yeah,
everywhere you look. And so the problem is, can other teams keep up with the talent for 4 quarters? I
yeah,
mean, yeah, maybe Clemson makes a mistake here and there, but it's going to be really hard to be just like they're keeping up the whole time. So I
yeah,
just think Clemson is the best team in the ACC, possibly the best team in the nation, just top to bottom roster wise. But
yeah,
at the same time, they're going to have to play in big games. And the differences between the ACC and other conferences, SEC, Big Ten, all those conferences, is the just pure consistency, first off, because they play every week against somebody good. And then second off, it's the trenches. Like
yeah,
this team in an ACC teams don't always have the trenches needed to play with the SEC. I think this team does. I think they
yeah,
have one of the they have Demonte Cartwright is or Capehart is their defensive tackle. He's not even a guy we're going to talk about on the 2026 stuff, but he's going to be a draft eligible guy. So like they have 3 legit draft guys in the next
yeah,
class on their D line, and I think
yeah,
that the trenches is where it matters. We're going to
yep,
see them be able to show that off week 1 versus LSU.
yep.
All right,
We
Dustin.
both have them beating LSU.
We do, yes. Let me. So this is going to be our conference championship games. So my conference championship game is going to be Clemson versus SMU based on how it all shook out with our records and all the tiebreakers and stuff. I only had 3 different teams at 7-1. I had Clemson, I had SMU, and then I had Miami. The team Clemson lost to Louisville, so it didn't really matter. But SMU lost to Clemson, and SMU beat Miami. So that's how we got to this point where we had did they play last year? I want to say they did. SMU versus Clemson in the Natty or in the conference championship. I can't remember off
Yeah,
the top of my head.
that's how
That was right. Yeah, right.
SMU snuck their way in and
That's right.
booted Bama out. That's why I was messing up
Oh
earlier.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah. That's
completely
right.
forgot who choked. I had it backwards. Clemson choked it, and
Mm-hmm.
SMU snuck in, but then they choked the whole game in the
Well, yeah,
playoff.
they played Penn State and got
Yeah,
throttled. That's right. I remember
yeah,
correctly now.
yeah.
And then Dustin's ACC Conference
Yep,
Championship will be the Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, man, that's a crazy one. But Georgia Tech has to play against both Clemson and Vautech. Vautech was 7-1 for Dustin. They were the last. So it was Vautech, Georgia Tech, SMU, and Clemson for him. All
yep,
7-1 teams. SMU loses to Clemson for Dustin also,
yep,
but Clemson loses to Georgia Tech.
yep,
And Vautech lose to Georgia Tech, so they're both out. Georgia Tech's automatically in. Georgia Tech loses to
yep,
Duke. Since SMU lost to Clemson, they're in. So here's your game with tiebreakers. Pick a
yep.
side. What's up?
Oh, I said it earlier. I was kind of hinting at it that I don't think Clemson loses twice to the same team.
Yeah.
And I think if this game were to get replayed, I honestly would say Clemson wins by 2 possessions. Also, I don't
Sure.
think it would be as good of a game as an 11 a.m. kickoff in Georgia Tech, where
Yeah,
Clemson has
yeah.
to
You
travel and
mean like
everything.
Ohio State, Oregon last year,
Right,
where
right.
they lose in the end of the game, and then Ohio
Yep.
State just
Yeah,
5 touchdown lead in the first
yeah,
half against Oregon last year. Yeah, no, I
exactly.
agree with that. I agree with that.
That's kind of how I would see it going. Is an absolute barn burner at Georgia Tech, but then in the championship game, Clemson would win easily and be a top 4 seed.
Yeah, yeah, and you had them 10-2, so they would be 11-2 at that point. That would be
Yep.
probably like the bottom part of the top four.
Yeah, I mean, it would depend. I mean, it depends on how big they lose. But again, I think they'd both be very close. Like we're
Yeah,
talking 3 point losses to South Carolina and Georgia Tech, that kind of
sure.
thing.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. That was actually pretty fun. I'll give it to you, Dustin.
I
Um,
tried to tell you,
now,
predictions are fun, and you get to have fun with it and be like, "Hey, Kyron Jones."
okay, stop. We did get
Okay.
to finish, of course, the 2026 prospect stuff. We did our mock draft last week, so you can go check that out if you haven't yet. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Please like and comment on this video. Obviously, y'all could be fans of these teams, ACC fans. I'm a Florida State fan. It's really hard out here, but just comment if you're a fan of the team. Give us your predictions on your teams or even the whole team. Everything. I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
We'll message back and forth. We'll talk about it, have the conversation, discussion. That's what we're here for. But we do appreciate y'all hanging out with us.
Thank y'all
And
very much for joining us, and we'll see
yeah, I
you
don't
next
know.
week for Big Ten.
Oh yeah, yeah, Big Ten,
Yep.
and then all the way to the top 25 as we go through these. So we appreciate y'all and have a good one.